Hey guys, what is up? Today I come to you with my review of Servamp episode 2. Now, we have some information regarding the Servamps, as well as an introduction of a new one, and Tsubaki's overall goal in this entire series, which is pretty sick. Now, he was briefly introduced in last week's episode, the one who attacked Mahiru and Kuro and his friends. And they come into this episode pretty strong with his character. And this, let's just say he's just plain crazy. He's mental, okay? His whole reason for doing so, like he said, is because you don't know me. And that goes along with who he is. Now I'm going to go into the part where, like, the Servamps. So he did say there are 7 Servamps. And he, in the way they were saying, it's like connected to that of the 7 deadly sins. So, you know, gluttony, sloth, wrath, envy, lust, am I missing something? Pride. Okay? The first one being sloth, which is Kuro, he's a sleepy ash of sloth, and then they tell all the others. And they're all siblings. We don't know whether they're like blood related or something that's connecting them to be considered siblings, but they are the siblings. And they all have contractors or Eve. The contractor is also called Eve. We also find out that these 7 siblings actually have an 8th sibling, which is Tsubaki, and he's the Servamp of melancholy. It also fits with his character because he dejects himself from both humans and vampires. And the reason why he's attacking both is because he's bored. He wants something interesting to happen in his life, and the best way to do that is to attack these people and watch as each one of them drops like flies. He wants to see blood. He wants to see death. And when Mahiru was chewing him out, saying, you know, after his flashback and him having to witness his mother die and go to her funeral and staying with his uncle, and then even though he was getting so much love and care for those people, there was a part of him that still could not open up to anyone. So he felt like no one can understand the pain that he was going through. And he was telling Tsubaki that the only reason you're acting like this is because you're not allowing anyone to understand you, which surprisingly Tsubaki agreed to. But at the same time, he's like, I don't care. Because if you understand me, that would be very boring. So I don't want you to understand me. I want to cause mass chaos, and I want to see people getting hurt. And the best way to do that, if you really want to know me, then he goes on saying, if you really want to know me, then let's start a war. Let's start a war where we see vampires and humans getting killed and they're clashing with each other and just cause all this mayhem amongst each other. And that would be so much fun for me, because that's the only way people can understand each other. As long as they butt heads and there's arguments and people are hurting each other, that's the best way feelings can get across. Now, he, you know, the thing was, even though he's a Servamp, we don't know who his contractor is, but he did mention the name, the word at least 3 times in this episode, and that was the word teacher. So we don't know who exactly this teacher is, but I'm guessing that's his contractor, his Eve. But at the same time, I'm thinking either his contractor is telling him to do all of this, or Tsubaki is acting out on his own will. And in fact, that vampire that attacked Mahiru's friend, going into it, he's not he's not a Servamp. He's not part of the 7 siblings or the 8 siblings. He's a totally different vampire who I'm guessing he's under the orders of Tsubaki himself. Now, introducing the new Servamp in this episode, as well as his contractor, we have the Servamp called Snow Lily, as well as his contractor, which is Alice Misono. Now, Lily is the Servamp of lust. They had a name for him, Love of Lust. And it fits with his character as well. Like, anytime they're named after a type of sin, it will just, you know, basically tell based on their personality. And he's kind of flirty, and he likes to strip a lot. It fits with who he is. And his power is able to, once he drinks the blood of his contractor, he's able to summon like a huge deadly death sight, which can cut down pretty much anything. We also find out that he goes to further explain that all these children that you saw, these 2 little kids with pink hair, they have red eyes. We come to find out they're actually class vampires, which are lower class vampires under the Servamps, and they're created by Servamps and only take order from them. So we don't really know the reason why they're able to create them and what purpose they're creating these subclass vampires. But all we know is that Servamps, who are possibly the highest ranking type of vampire there is, they have the power to create these other vampires. Now, Alice acts basically was trying to force Miharu to become his servant, because if he would control him, and telling him to fight which opponent they can fight, as well as try to defeat Tsubaki. Instead, Mahiru turns the table and said, instead of that, how about we become friends and allies and join forces in order to defeat Tsubaki, because all these 7 siblings, must know that Tsubaki is a huge threat to them as well as humans, and somehow possibly Servamps do want to protect humans. And the only way to do that is to stop Tsubaki from doing what he's going to do. Now, that being said, even though there's a total of 8 siblings, 6 of them, they're going to be introduced into the series, but at the same time, we do not know if they're going to become allies of Mahiru and Alice, or they're going to go doing their own thing, or possibly join Tsubaki. And the forces are going to clash with each other in terms of power, and who's going to be the one that's going to win in the end of the series. So we do not know as of for right now, but as episodes go on, we're gonna see more Servamps introduced, as well as their Eves, and see what they're capable of doing, and see if they're going to either side with Mahiru or they're not going to. Now, by the end of this episode, we see where Mahiru's friend, Sakia, this guy I find him to be suspicious, because he's the only character among his friends that's so interested in vampires. And the way he was going about, like in this episode, especially in the beginning of the episode, how it almost seemed like he knew what happened with the vampire attack, but he was trying to play it off. And it's like he knows what he figures something is going on with Mahiru, but he's not pushing it. And my suspicions is that he possibly may be Eve. He may be a contractor, and he has a servant, but he's just playing it off for the sake of Mahiru and his friends. But by the end of the episode, it looks like he's about to be attacked by a vampire. And the line that Mahiru said right after he said, "Now I have the power to protect everything," then he goes switching, saying right before the vampire actually lands on Sakia, he goes, "But probably," I'm paraphrasing, "but probably I don't. Probably I never really had the power to protect anything." And it just leaves off on that cliffhanger, and we don't know what happens to Sakia, if Mahiru manages to save him or he ends up injured, dead. We do not know what happened, but it just left off on that huge cliffhanger. So his fate is left up into next week's episode, and I cannot wait for that. This episode was very informative in terms of the Servamps and who Tsubaki is. And now we have alliances are starting to form, and this kind of war that's about to take place between humans and Servamps is starting to commence because of Tsubaki. So if you saw this week's episode of Servamp, please do tell me in the comment section below on your thoughts and your opinions. How do you feel about that cliffhanger, and what do you think is going to happen in episode 3 for next week? The links are in the description box. You guys go check that out. And I'm Kimmy Chan of Anime Legends Podcast, and I will see you guys later. Bye!